Hey everybody, and welcome into Inside Panther Sports. I'm George Young, joined today by the band director, Buddy Huckabee, in our studios today. Buddy, it's always good to talk to you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Buddy, folks think that you're actually from Franklin. You were born and raised here because you've been here so long. Give us kind of a background. You've been the band director for close to 20 years.
Going on 20. It's been 19. It'll be 20 next semester. I'm actually from Kings Mountain, North Carolina, just south of Charlotte, and that's where I went to high school. And then went to college up at Western, and was there in their great, wonderful marching band. Did 5 years there, and as I was there getting ready for a master's degree, this opened up, and I said, "Why not? Let's try Franklin." And fell in love with it for, I guess, the first maybe 2 weeks. It only took to love this place, and I felt so much at home here, so here I am almost 20 years later.
And you have taken the band to heights that it hasn't seen before. You continue to do innovative stuff. You continue to have just magnificent shows and win awards each and every year. Tell us about this year's show and what all has been involved with it and what you guys are going to be doing.
Okay, so I knew we had the Sugar Bowl this year, which, we've had bowl games in the past, but I wanted something special. The Sugar Bowl is actually the hardest bowl game to get accepted to as a high school student. Even if you go to the national championship game and Macy's and things like that, those things you really don't get to just do, but just that parade. You go to the national championship game, you don't get tickets to the game. So I wanted something, like I said, that the students can actually go to the game and enjoy. So what I did is, for the Sugar Bowl, I wanted something that's going to stand out. So the biggest thing we have going right now, of course, in TV is Marvel, Avengers, DC. It's exploded the last couple of years. So I said, I want to do something like that and put together our own Marvel show. Of course, with copyright, I can't use a lot of stuff. So we actually had our music specially written for our show. We have it's a Captain Coda, and if you're familiar with music terms, Captain Coda is at the end of music, and Super Cigna is where you go back to. So the whole story, to make in a nutshell, it's a love story from the beginning where a gentleman, a regular guy, figures out that he has superpowers. One day when he witnessed a robbery, and when he went to hit the guy that was robbing a lady, like the entire world shook. So there's this big sonic boom. It's really cool. And his girlfriend that's with him, pretty much was like, "Wow, I have a superhero as a boyfriend." So fast forward a little bit, he decides, "Hey, I've got superpowers. I'm just going to strut my stuff." So there's this whole big, everybody's heard from the first ball game, we play this huge jazz thing. The kids are loving the jazz. So there's this whole big jazz thing where he's strutting his stuff. You'll notice on the field, and he's saying things like, "Yeah, my muscles are real," and he's getting all the ladies. Well, his girlfriend's getting mad because he's swooning all the ladies. She finally has had enough and goes up to one of the other girls to slap her. When she goes to slap the other girl, he gets in between them and stops them. And as soon as he does this, he uses his power on his girlfriend and hurts her really bad and kills her, so to speak. Well, the next song is about him remembering her and what did he do, and he realizes he did a big mistake. She actually comes back as a villain and tries to avenge him killing her. And again, this is like in-depth stuff, and it works with the music. And then as she comes back to avenge her own death against him, they start battling, and she actually starts taking over the band and points over here, and the horns do all kinds of weird stuff, and he realizes he has no more power. So in order to set her free, he gives her the rest of his powers, and he realizes he loves her. So the end of the story, she gets the power, he goes off, and she goes into a comic book. We have a comic book on the 35 as soon as we get our props. We'll have a comic book there. There's a whole big scenery of New York in the back. It's really cool. So in the beginning, he comes out of the comic book before the robbery. At the end, she goes into the comic book. It closes, and that's the story of the show's called The Immortal. And it's really cool. It's really in-depth. The music is really cool. A lot of jazz, a lot of just huge progressions, a lot of dancing, celebration, and then mourning, and then back to when she's victorious. It has really cool fanfares and stuff. It's just really cool. A neat show for a Sugar Bowl, definitely.
Oh, you've been talking about the Sugar Bowl. That's what you're working towards. Now,
Definitely.
give us the the story behind a band being selected for a bowl game like the Sugar Bowl?
Okay, so pretty much any band anywhere can audition and apply. I guess it wouldn't be an audition. It would apply first for a bowl games. It's Bowl Games of America. You send in your paperwork, and there's just a long trail of what can we do here. Send this in, send in a video of this, send in audio files of you performing this, and it's a long process. Then you send in actual still pictures, and you send in recordings through the fall, spring, and then they select you as one of the finalists for the bowl game, and then pretty much they'll take those final. Usually they'll choose about 40 bands each year for the following year. So you would, if we were to go for this year, it would be for next year, 2020, 2021. So they stay a year ahead. They'll take those 40 bands and disperse them between Sugar, Gator, Liberty, Alamo, and the Orange Bowl. And then they just take those 40 bands, disperse them there, and then for each bowl game, you then go through the process of fundraising and things like that. But the Sugar Bowl is actually the most sought out one. I've actually tried, since I first got here in 2001, I've tried to get in the Sugar Bowl every single time we've gone to a bowl game, but they've always pushed us to the other ones. But I think recently with our recent Liberty Bowl trip and everything, and plus we've done Alamo Bowl, Gator Bowl a couple of times, I guess going on 20 years, we finally was able to get accepted the Sugar Bowl, and we were excited. So this is the hardest one to get into. So that's the whole process. Once you get there, you fundraise, and then the rest is the trip and national TV and everything else, and it's excited.
Well, the Sugar Bowl is in New Orleans, so I'm sure that there's a lot of fanfare that goes around the Sugar Bowl, especially being in New Orleans.
Oh yeah, and it's of course jazz. I mean, unfortunately, this semester I do not have, of all the semesters I've been here in all these years, I've had a jazz band in the fall. I do not have a jazz band this fall because of scheduling conflicts at the school. They moved my jazz band to the spring, and obviously with music and everything, I have, I'm going to toot my horn for a minute, we have the more advanced students that take AP and honors classes, so those conflicted with jazz band too much, and I would have only had like 6 kids, but if I moved it to the spring, I was able to have 41 students in jazz band. So I pretty much just I guess dropped back and punted and said I'll take the jazz band in the spring, and we just won't have a jazz band. But my whole thing was I would have loved to have been able to have a jazz band on Bourbon Street. I would have had that set up, and but all the students that are there, 40 students that will be in jazz band, are going to be able to go on Bourbon Street, see the jazz, and witness that in New Orleans, which by far is going to be amazing.
Well, you mentioned fundraising. That's what you guys are doing right now. Fundraising for the big Sugar Bowl trip. What's happening, and how can folks?
We have raised probably 80%. Of course, in the past year, the biggest fundraiser is of course the fruit sale. The kids make money off the fruit sale. It's been the thing here for, I guess, going on 40 years. Ms. Welch did the fruit sale and all the way through that. So the fruit sale is that's our last ditch effort to raise our final 20%. It starts up at the end of September and should run to about Halloween. And we're just asking and begging everybody, buy a box of fruit, help these kids. I have about 7 to 10 kids that we're still trying to get caught up in their payments. They have payment plans set up through Sugar Bowl, through bowl games, and about 7 to 10 kids are a payment or so behind. And we're just fundraising to try to catch those kids up. So anything, usually the online orders go to the seniors. We'll order the music for their senior dedication show in spring, and it buys all the music for the spring. But what we're doing this year is anything we've raised online, any kind of money and orders we get online is going straight to the bowl games, so we can get every student that wants to go to the bowl game, which I'm hoping is 100%.
Absolutely, and we'll put the address at the bottom of the screen here for folks to log on to your website and to find out more information. Well, buddy, as always, we've done it for many years on the radio, doing it on TV. It's a pleasure to have you.
Definitely. Thanks for having me. I hope to do it again.
And we appreciate you tuning in to YouTube and Facebook, to the Franklin Panther Sports Network. That's going to wrap things up here on Inside Panther Sports.